And that's everything, Kim finished. Wade's been trying to find a cure, while Ron and I have to keep trying from keeping Faye from going completely out of control. Anne frowned. And you've still been going out on missions during all this? What else could I do? Kim said. If I just stayed at home, Faye could have gotten a hint as to what Wade's been up to and done something bad if she didn't like it. Bad? Kim's father James quirked an eyebrow. Kimmy, I strongly suggest you tell us anything you've left out so far. Kim sighed. I wasn't trying to worry you. Faye says that if I do find a cure and try to use it, she's going to blow her brains out, which means she blows my brains out. She has a gun? James asked. She had one in the messages to me. Where is it now? Kim shook her head. No idea. We only share memories up until the first time I've changed. Beyond that, aside from the communicator files, neither of us know what she's the other one. I'm just glad she seems to prefer a hands-on approach when she's been active. The possible parents just sat in silence for a few moments. Kim spent the time wishing that she could just vanish and take her problems with her. They didn't deserve this. She was supposed to be getting ready to go out on her own, be a responsible adult. All right then, James said. Have Wade email us his analysis so far. I'll talk to a couple of the boys in the chem lab at work and see what they can come up with. Good idea, Anne replied. And in the meantime, I'll take a look at the brain scans on you and Faye that he's done. Maybe there's a clue on how we could stop the changes there. Kim blinked at her parents. You mean you're not mad? Kimmy, Anne said kindly, you're our daughter and you're in trouble. How could you possibly think we would be mad about that? I didn't want you to worry, and I didn't want you to be in any danger from her. Danger? James' eyebrow went up again. Why would we be in danger from her? Kim then looked at her father. She's implied things, nothing major, but she's left occasional taunt on the communicator, or just though I thought it would be better if we played it safe. James and Anne exchanged look. Fair enough, James said. Alright, we'll keep our conferences with Wade on the QT until we have something. As long as you know that we're doing Wayne, Faye won't know what we're doing. Okay, Kim said. Should I stop the missions for now? No, Anne answered after a few moments. While it would be a good idea in theory since the predict's already been established, and she seems to be trying to keep the rules, you better keep on going. Any sudden stops might make her suspicious. Check, Kim said. Anything else? Well, maybe we could... The conversation was interrupted by the communicator going off. Kim hit the button. What's up, Wade? Hey, Kim, nothing major, but Monique told me that you need to get to Club Banana ASAP. She said it was urgent. Club Banana? But there's nothing going on there. Crap! Kim then got up from the table, startling her parents. What is it, Kimmy? Anne asked. I'm late for work, and I've already missed 2 shifts this week. Kim then looked back at the communicator. Thanks, Wade. Wait a sec, Kimmy cub. James came over and looked at the communicator. Wade, as soon as Kimmy leaves, set up a video conference with me and Dr. Possible. And Kim's briefed on us on the situation with Faye, and we're going to help out. Can do. I'll be ready in 10 minutes, Wade replied, before signing off. Kim gave her parents a quick kiss on the cheek. I gotta go. I'll be back later. She bolted for the door, grabbing her car keys off the hook next to it. Kim! Anne called out. Anne called out. Kim Possible paused halfway through the door, and then looked back. Be careful, Anne finished. Kim nodded and disappeared, leaving the possible parents to prepare themselves on the face biggest, most personal changes in their lives. I'm sorry, Kim, Monique said, her face full of regret. They wanted me to just tell you over the phone, but I figured you would hear it in person from me. I'm fired? Kim said, shocked. But I thought we had worked out the whole sitch with the missions. It's not about the missions, Kim, Monique answered. They were fine with you missing work because of the missions, but Kim, you've missed 9 shifts in the last 3 months. No call, no shows, not missions. Monique sighed. I really tried, Kim. They really tried, but the rules are rules, and we bent them as far as they can go. so we're letting you go. Kim's face fell, and then she looked at the floor. I'm sorry, Monique. Monique blinked. You're sorry? I let you down. I never meant to do that when I took this job. Kim, Monique said, I'm not saying that we can't be friends anymore. The manager just said that they had to be let to go. I still like you. Kim then looked back up and gave Monique a rueful smile. I know that. It's just, I've never really let anyone down before. I just really need a little while to get used to the idea, you know? Yeah, I can see that. Listen, I get off at 4. Want to catch a movie in 8 in the late lunch? Kim smiled. Sounds good. I'll see what's playing and... She was suddenly cut off by a beep on the communicator. It wasn't the usual, 4-note beep that indicated that Wade was calling. Kim brought it up to her wrist and tapped on the button. The screen lit up with the words, scheduled to change in 10 minutes. She looked them back up at Monique. Darn it, I'm gonna have to take a rain check on that, Monique. I forgot about this appointment I have this afternoon. How about tomorrow? Sure, Monique said brightly. I've got tomorrow off anyway. Call you later? Yep, and again, sorry if I flaked out on you, Monique. Monique smirked. Why would you knock it off? It's not at the end of the world. Now you get going before you're late. Kim smiled and waved as she left the store. Can do, bye. As soon as Kim left the store, her shoulders sagged. It was starting to get to her. The unscheduled changes were messing with her sleep cycle. Faye rarely got any sleep while she was in charge, which meant that Kim as more often than came back exhausted. It didn't mean that their minds were effectively unconscious when the other one is awake. The bodies still feel tired, and Faye always made sure I got stuck with need to sleep, Kim thought. She rounded the corner as she was heading for the more deserted areas in the mall. There was a restroom down at this end, was almost always empty. It was a good place for a change to happen. Kim raised the communicator and checked the countdown for the next change. 3 minutes. So Monique's decided that you're out of touch and you can't work at Club Banana anymore? Came a snide voice. Kim froze. Oh God, please, not her, not now. Kim then turned around to see Bonnie Rockweiler standing behind her, with her usual expression of a high horse contempt plastered on her face. Kim gritted her teeth out of habit. Don't you have an assignment for summer school to finish, Bonnie? She said, trying to keep her voice even. Not anymore. Junior just had his dad make some phone calls. One stupid essay and voila, instant graduate. Bonnie smirked. Kim always considered Ed lucky the truly sick and twisted universe that Bonnie had hooked up with senior, junior. Well, congratulations. I am happy for you. Catch you later. Kim then turned to leave again, glancing at the communicator screen. 2 minutes. What's the rush, Kay? Gotta get back to that loser boyfriend of yours? Kim then spun around before even she realized it. Ron is not a loser. He has gotten even into college yet? Bonnie asked, grinning wickedly. Or is he just going to flip the burgers at the Cow and Chow for a living? Kim then growled with the depths of her throat. I don't have time for this. The communicator beeped again, and Kim looked at it. 1 minute. What's another word? Saving a mission again? God, Kim, have you grown out of that phase yet? Bonnie, Kim began. She could feel Faye waking up, moving around in the back of her mind. Leave now. Before I do something I'm going to regret. Bonnie frowned. What the hell do you mean by that? We're going to start something, Kim? No, I want you to leave before something happens. We'll both regret. Kim squeezed her eyes shut behind the lids, and her eyes began shifting down to the spectrum from green towards purple. Are you done being freaky yet? Bonnie asked, as frowning at Kim's facial contortions. I'm trying to slave my coincidence while I still have one, Kim answered. Bonnie blinked. Kim's voice sounded odd, like two people were speaking at the same time. Bonnie, Kim's oddly echoing voice said, go, now. Something in Kim's voice made the hairs on Bonnie's neck stand to end. She nervously then turned to look behind her. She was sure that there would be something there. All she saw was the rest of the deserted mall corridor. She then turned back towards Kim. Except Kim wasn't there. Instead, there was a taller girl with darker red hair. She was wearing the same clothes as Kim's been wearing. The other girl's eyes opened, and Bonnie sucked in her breath at the sight of the oddly fluorescent purple eyes. The purple-eyed girl eyed at Bonnie, frowned with the expression of thought, and then a grin slowly crept across her face. As it did, Bonnie felt the blood rush from her face as the smile turned malevolent and predatory. The adrenaline began pumping through her veins as the lower part of her brain reacted to the inherent wrongness of the person in front of her. Bonnie began slowly backing away. The other girl didn't move. She just stood there watching and smiling, nearly with all of her teeth, showing them all at lightning. Bonnie then wanted to start running, but the same instincts were telling her to run, so also telling her that to run back to the newcomer would be a phenomenally bad idea. "Bonnie," the girl said slowly. Bonnie froze in her tracks. The girl took a couple steps forward. "Keep away from me," Bonnie said, taking a quick glance at her, deciding to run like hell. When she turned back, she screamed. The girl was standing right in front of her. The grin got even wider. If it was possible. "Oh, Bonnie, you are in trouble. You aren't on the list." "List?" Bonnie repeated. Confusion began to the rise and the feeling of panic slowly creeping up her spine. "What's list?" Bonnie didn't even bother wanted to wait for the answer, but then she turned it again and then dashed for the corridor. And as she ran, Shadow passed over her and skidded to a halt as the girl landed right in front of her and grabbed her on the shirt. "The list of people I'm not allowed to mess with? You aren't on it, so you know what that means." "Naughty, naughty," the girl said, waving a finger in front of Bonnie's terrored eyes, running away in the middle of a conversation now. "As I was saying, you aren't on the list, Bonnie, so that means I get to have fun. Loads of fun." Bonnie opened her mouth to protest, but the girl thrust her head forward. There was a sharp cracking sound as Bonnie sank blissfully into the darkness. Bonnie awoke to the sound of bells. She groaned and sat up, waiting for her vision to clear. And as she did, she realized that the room was still dark. She was sitting on a display in the stand of one of the major department stores in the mall. Only the occasional light from the ceiling was illuminated, casting most of the store into the shadow. The bells were still playing as Bonnie looked around, a small music box sitting on display next to her. After listening for a few moments, she recognized the tune, "Ring Around the Rosie." A folded piece of paper underneath the music box. Bonnie picked it up and looked around, wondering where the girl with the freaky purple eyes was. She unfolded the paper and stifled a small heap of fright. "Bon, you've finally got your wish. You're here in the mall after closing. Security is effectively removed from consideration, and here you may get out of here alive. Follow the signs to get out of here, and we'll talk about you leaving." "Oh, and I wouldn't think of trying to follow these instructions. There may not be security guards, but the cameras will work fine. Get crackin', FM." Bonnie then dropped the note and looked up at the ceiling and recessed black of atmospheres that held one of the security cameras. She swallowed and stood up, looking around for a sign. There weren't any. Bonnie looked up at the camera again and then checked in some areas some more. Whoever that girl was, she was freaking crazy, and Bonnie had no intention of ticking her off. She frantically began looking for some sort of sign, but there was nothing around her except for the clothes and the racks of the mannequin. Wait a minute. Bonnie turned around to the store, slower this time. There was no other mannequins in sight, and she could only see there was one directly underneath the illuminated lights. Bonnie walked across the floor, and as she caught closer, she noticed one arm was stretched out of the mannequin's head, was a sign looking in the direction of a nearby employees-only door. Bonnie then dashed around the room and through the door. On the other side, resting on the floor, was a mannequin arm, pointing towards the far end of the hallway. Bonnie made her way down the hallway, encountering the more dissembled mannequin parts, a hand pointing the way, a leg propping the door there. Eventually, she came to another unmarked door with the service corridor behind the department store. Another note was taped to the door. Bonnie took it off and squinted at it, trying to make out the writing in the dim lighting. "If you're reading this, then you're clearly smarter than I thought. I hope your brain isn't creaking so badly from the lack of use. Maybe you're going to need it. Oh, and one more thing. When you go through that door, watch your head. FM." Bonnie then crumpled the note in her hand, and anger was starting to cut through her haze of fear. That psycho thought a bunch of taunting notes and darkened mall were going to scare her, but clearly they didn't know Bonnie Walkweiler. She'd taken a deep breath. Bonnie placed a hand on the door and shoved it open. Something on the rope swung the door right down and hit her face. Ow! Bonnie then put one hand on her nose as she fell to the floor. Another caught the object and grabbed it. She pulled, attempting to get up, but the rope snapped and she hit the floor again. Bonnie then picked up and the object and screamed. She was holding her own severed hand. After a few moments, it was panicked and confirmation her head was still attached to her neck. Bonnie realized what she was holding. It was a mannequin head made up to look like her, and she snarled, "Oh, that's it." Tossing the head aside, Bonnie got to her feet and stalked through the door. She emerged into one of the main corridors of the mall. It was darker out there, which was odd since most of the malls keep the lights on all night for security. Like the department stores, there were an occasional light on, casting pools of light here and there. Bonnie began walking down the corridor, making her way to the nearest exit. She came to the glass doors a few minutes. She could see night had fallen outside, and the parking lot was empty. She sighed in relief as she pushed open the doors, which had refused to open. "You won't be getting out that way," came a mocking voice. Bonnie spun around looking for the speaker. "It's called a PA, Bon. The girl's voice then echoed mockingly throughout the mall. "Anyway, here's the deal. The only unlocked door is at the other end of the mall. You're going to have to make your way to get out. Here's the one little catch. I'm going to be out there waiting for you, so you aren't out in 5 minutes. You aren't leaving. Good luck." Bonnie snarled again and began running towards the other end of the mall. Milton Mall wasn't a huge mall, but it was fairly long. Even so, Bonnie figured 5 minutes would be and then more than enough time to get to the other end. As she turned the corner leading to the center of the mall, what little light there was cut out, leaving her in the darkness. The sudden change of her cascade to misstep and trip over her own feet. She hit the floor to her chin and yelped out in pain. "Aw, Bon fall down, go boom," came the psycho girl's voice. "Better hurry, you're running out of time. Oh wait, how about a little music?" As Bonnie got to her feet, she heard the loud guitar riff throughout the parts of the Bad Bentar Field Mall. "You've been set up so many times. You're the perfect victim for the perfect crime. Let yourself wide open the pain. So close your eyes now, you're walking in the rain." Bonnie then got up to her feet as the music played, and then she began making her way down towards the corridor. Up ahead, the corridor intersected with one of the exit corridors. Light was visible from the parking lot. Bonnie picked up from her pace and made her way to the intersection. As Bonnie reached out to the intersection, there was a hiss of pneumatic cartridge being fired, and the cable came out of the darkness in front of her, wrapped her around her neck. Bonnie's startled cry was cut off as the cable tightened and felt herself being dragged into the shadows. Bonnie struggled to keep her voice balanced, but there was a jerk when she fell to her knees. The music kept playing, and spots that danced before her eyes. She struggled, her mind locked onto the sound of the psycho girl's voice singing, along with the music coming from the PA. Inspiration suddenly hit Bonnie as she stopped struggling, after wedging 2 fingers between the cables in her neck, so she didn't strangle, was being dragged into the darkness. She went limp otherwise, letting her captor bring her closer and closer. The song on the PA ended, and the psycho girl stopped dragging Bonnie across the floor. With the little light there Bonnie could see the girl's shoes walking closer to her. Bonnie forced herself to remain still as the girl reached down and grabbed her by the hair. Raising her head up, Bonnie grit her teeth, but kept her lips closed as she feigned unconsciousness. "Damn, Bonnie," the girl said. "I was hoping you wouldn't have been this easy. It was hardly worth going all the trouble. Oh well." Bonnie felt the grip on her hair slacken a little. She quickly slapped her hands on the floor and spun her rear legs to swing to the back of the girl's own. One foot went high, connecting to behind the girl's knee. The girl cried out in pain as she fell to the floor. Bonnie quickly got up to her feet, pulling the cable off her neck, and began running down the corridor. Behind her, the girl let out a human scream, which echoed down the corridor. Bonnie quickened her pace as she could now see an open exit just a few hundred yards away. 10 seconds, Bon. 9, 8. The accountants of the corridor door, it almost made it impossible to where the voice was coming from. Bonnie found that she didn't really care. 7, 6, 5. Bonnie then pounded her feet frantically against the door, trying to get away from the voice from the door, that led to her freedom. As she got closer, her foot hit something, causing it to slide and connect with her other foot. She hit the floor and began sliding across it, crying out as the friction burned her cheek. 3, 2. Bonnie felt a hand grabbed her hair again and pulled her up. An arm twisted up behind her back as she heard the psycho girl's voice whispered into her ear, "Come to Mommy." Tri-City Hospital had a blessing of being one of the most underused hospitals in the state. Wait times in the emergency room rarely took longer than 2 hours, but like all emergency rooms, more serious cases naturally got priority. Faye Morgan, wearing a leather jacket and sunglasses, strode through the automatic doors leading to the ER. She was carrying a rather large bundle over her shoulder. Dark red stains splattered cloth, and the occasional moan was heard as Faye made her way to the triage of the nurse's desk. The nurse was there, but Faye rang the bell anyway. The nurse looked up, frowning the expression of all changed nurses have. The frown turned perplexed as she saw the bundle that she was moaning. "What is all this about?" she asked. Slowly not liking the twisted girls on the red-headed woman's face, the grin got wider. "Well, it's up to you, of course. You know about more medicine than I do, but if it were me, I'd say this." Faye then dropped the bundle onto the tile-hard floor. A shriek of pain emerged from it. Faye smirked and looked down at the horrified, deranged nurse. "I'd say it's the front of the line," Faye finished. She waved her fingers and grinned again. Then she turned on her heel and walked back the way she came. She made her way back down to the hall. She grinned again as the horrified scream of the nurse echoed before her. Faye raised the communicator eye to eye and nodded at the display. Just a couple of hours left of her time, and then Kimmy was going to go in. And of course the cops would never dream of questioning Kim Possible. Still better hedge to the bet. Kim woke up at the wheel of her car. The sun was beginning to rise, and Kim looked around. Her eyes widened in horror as she realized that she was in the parking lot of the hospital. "Mom," she thought, opening the door and running across the parking lot to the emergency room entrance. As she reached the doors, they opened and she ran straight to Senior, Junior. "Senior? Senior?" Kim asked, confused. "Kim Possible?" Senior replied, just as confused. "What? Where?" "I assume you were here because of Miss Rottweiler?" Senior asked. Kim blinked. "Bonnie, no. I was meeting my mother at her office," Kim quickly said, coming up with a plausible reason to be there. "What's happened to Bonnie?" Senior frowned. Kim saw his grip tighten on his cane. Someone had injured Miss Rottweiler severely. "Faye," Kim thought. "How severely?" she asked. The elderly villain's eyes narrowed. "Very. The doctor says she will recover in time, but it will be quite some time. She's lucky that she's still able to see and hear. Her family are understandably distraught, and Senior's knuckles cracked and the grip tightened further on the cane. "It is good that I have run into you. I wish to retain your services." "My services?" Kim repeated. "I don't understand." "I am not fond of Miss Rottweiler's personality, it is true, but Junior is enamored with her, and I suspect that he may have actually loved her. I have informed Mr. and Mrs. Rottweiler that I will gladly pay the medical bills associated with her recovery. I also want you to find whoever's responsible for what happened to her," Senior said quietly. "Well, I could certainly do that," Kim said. Senior held up a hand. "I'm afraid I'm not finished. I want you to find this person, and when you do, you will not turn them over to the police. You will not give them to Global Justice. You will instead bring them directly to me." Kim gulped as she saw the rage in Senior's eyes. She had seen the villain frustrated, annoyed, and irritated, but this was the first time she had seen Senior angry. And it struck her that you didn't become one of the 5 richest people on the planet without having to know to be absolutely ruthless. "I don't know if I could do that," Kim said. Senior nodded. You will not find me ungrateful if you do. But ask yourself this. If something similar happened to the Unstoppable, will you be willing to be so merciful to the responsibility party? Good day, Kim Possible. Senior made his way past Kim Possible, pulling out his cell phone from his pocket and dialing a number. Kim then stood in front of the hospital for a few moments, unsure of what to do. Kimberly! Came a familiar voice, and Kim turned to see Dr. Director, jogging towards her. Director, what are you doing here? Kim asked. We came here as soon as we heard about what happened to Bonnie. We figured you might want to help finding the person who did it. Director answered. You're keeping tabs on Bonnie? We will be keeping an eye on everyone connected to you, Kimberly. We don't want anything happening to you. That's kind of creepy, actually, Kim said, quirking an eyebrow. But I just heard about Bonnie. I am here to meet my mom. Director gave Kim a small smile. No, you aren't. Your mom isn't on call today, Kimberly. Kim's eyes widened. How did you... Don't feel bad about lying, Kimberly. Director said. Before Kim could react, the Global Justice Leader produced a syringe jabbed into Kim's neck, thumbed the plunger, and then pulled the needle back out. I was lying too. Kim stepped back from Director, clasping a hand around her neck. What did you do? Director's expression was mournful. I'm sorry, Kimberly. It's out of my hands. There's people who want to meet Faye. I'm so sorry. Kim's vision swam and began to darken at the edges. You mistake. She murmured. A pair of Global Justice agents appeared and gently picked Kim up as a teen hero fell unconscious. Dr. Director rubbed the bridge of her nose, wiping away a tear that had formed at her good eye. Put her in the van gently, she ordered. I will contact ICAD 1 and tell him where to meet us. The agents nodded and carried Kim away. After a few moments, Dr. Director followed. Anyone watching would have noticed that she studiously avoided looking at her reflection in the panels of the glass of the hospital entrance. Senior most definitely counted as everyone.